Hello! Thank you for joining us. This is Nerds with Dice. My name is Razor. I'm going to be running this one shot of my game, Make Our Own Heaven, which is a Biopunk Angel RPG. I'm very grateful to the Nerds with Dice team for hosting this live stream for us to help promote the game. We're actually here because Make Our Own Heaven is in the Kanaki Solidarity fundraising bundle. We're raising money to help First Nations communities in Kanaki, which is an island currently under French occupation in the South Pacific, Southwestern Pacific. So you can check that out over on Itch, and I believe that there are links to that, as well as more information about the show, their merch, their YouTube, and their Discord and stuff. That should be in the chat or on their Blue Sky. And they have a link tree as well over there on their Blue Sky as well, so you can find more information about that. We're actually in the last 24 hours of the Solidarity fundraising bundle for Kanaki. So please, if you have a spare $10, go and grab that. We're trying to give money to women in First Nations women in Kanaki so that they can buy food, medicine, and pay for some legal support for their communities. And that doesn't go through any charity organization. That goes directly into their hands. So please help us with that bit of mutual aid. But without further ado, I'm Ray. Ray or Razor. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a game designer from Australia. I live on the lands of the unceded lands of the Awabakal and Worimi people. We are all of us, I believe, at the moment, living on occupied lands of Indigenous people. And I just want to acknowledge that it always was and always will be their sovereign land, and that sovereignty was not ceded. And shout out to any First Nations people tuning in today. I am going to tell you all a little bit about Make Our Own Heaven, and a very brief explanation of the setting, and then I'm going to have our players introduce themselves and their characters. Just as a heads up to our players, we do have some safety rules in place. The main one is that if for any reason something in a scene is making you uncomfortable, just give me a shout out to skip it and we'll move ahead. I'm not going to make you explain that or justify it, and we're not going to interrogate each other on why we need to skip something. We're just going to move along to the next thing. How does that sound?
Good.
Awesome. Brilliant. Okay, so Make Our Own Heaven is a biopunk angel RPG with queer anarchist roots. In Make Our Own Heaven, you play as angel clones who have been recently escaped from the lab where they were created and raised, and are now living in the streets of Jupiter's largest city, New Heaven. You are trying to make ends meet while also trying to help your community and avoid recapture by the authority. The group of oligarchs that commissioned your creation and also run all of Jupiter. The game uses a system of dice rolls, and dice pools, and resource spends that we'll get into as we play. But it is quite quick to pick up and learn. But in addition to our character sheets, we also have these things called in addition to our character sheets that tell us everything about our angels, their true names and stuff, as well as the skills that they're trained in by the authority and the powers that they have thanks to their angelic heritage. We also have a community sheet which tracks a lot of our relationships and things. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that after we get our players to introduce themselves. So, whoever wants to go first, just tell us your your name, and pronouns, your character's name, and pronouns, and then maybe tell us what they do as a what do they do for their day job?
All right. I guess I'll start. I'm Lewis Wolf, pronouns he, they. I'll be playing Lore, pronouns they, he. Because I'm so different and cool. Lore is a event waiter, because, I mean, the economy, you know? And also, I mean, a bit of crime, perhaps.
Excellent. Awesome. Um, yeah. I'm excited for that. We also, so yeah, I mentioned our community sheet. I'm not sure how well this will show up on the camera, but I've got this laminated sheet here. The community sheet has is something that grows through play, but when we start off, we already have some of it filled in. So I'm using one that I use for all of my one shots and stuff. So our home district is outer, so that's the outer docks of the space station. That's where a lot of the heavy cargo and stuff comes in, but it's also where like cruise ships and like starliners come in, delivering people who are moving to New Heaven or to Jupiter generally. A lot of ships coming up from the moons, and a lot of ships coming in from like Earth and Venus and all of those sorts of places in a system. So there's a lot of, it's a very busy sort of district. There's a lot of security cameras here because of that. Um, but there's also a lot of rough and tumble people. It's a very union proud district too, which is much to the annoyance of the authority. Um, so we have first up on our community sheet our institutions and our pillars. Our institutions are places that are important to our community, and when I say community, I mean the people we run with, not necessarily the locality we live in. And then the pillars are that, but for people. So they're I often describe them as the pillars are people that everyone knows. They're not necessarily like close friends of ours, but it's like that one person in your town that everybody knows. That's sort of what the pillars are for. So our institution that we are starting with is the Last Call Bar and Refuge. So this is a little hole in the wall bar that is for those in the know. They understand that this bar has a lot of secret passages out of it. It's often used as the first step in like helping people um, either get away from the authority or people that are refugees who are trying to get into New Heaven or get out of Jupiter. It is known to help with that sort of stuff. And then the first person we have for our pillars is Chief Lionel, who is a union boss and an old timer. Old timer in the parlance of New Heaven just means somebody that fought in the Frontier Wars, which were the wars that happened just before New Heaven was founded. So Lionel is really old because New Heaven's like 30 or 40 years old from memory. So Lionel's quite old. And that the Frontiers Wars is seen as like a war between the oligarchs, but it was a war between the oligarchs and a war between the people of Jupiter trying to win their independence, and that didn't play out well. But that doesn't mean that the struggle doesn't continue. So yeah, Lionel's an old timer. We've got our allies, friends, and family down the bottom of our community sheet, and that is like people we can call on for aid and stuff in the session. I won't explain allies, but the main thing to know is that allies are big players, and their aid is transactional. They can do large favors, but it always comes with a price. They expect you to get them back. We don't have any allies marked at the moment. Then in our friends, we have that's people who are tight with us, but they don't necessarily know our secret. They don't know that you're angels. Um, And the only friend that we have marked at the moment is Cade, who is a joker and a hustler.
Mhm.
And then in our family, these are the people that know our secret and will keep it like their own. Um, the first family member that you mark is always the person that took you in after you escaped from the lab. So we have Auntie Vashti, a cart driver, so like a tuk-tuk driver, like a delivery driver. Um, yeah, Auntie Vashti took you in and helped you get your fake IDs and helped you get jobs, day jobs and stuff, and is sort of still helping you with that sort of stuff, helping you learn how to be um, helping you learn how to do all the human things that you weren't taught, right? Because you were raised to be weapons. You know, you can disassemble a sniper rifle with your eyes shut. You can you can tell the best way to break into a building. You do not know how to uh, fold your clothes or cook your dinner.
Doing laundry's hard
Um,
work.
these are totally, but they're things that they didn't bother to teach you. They're like, we're just gonna hand them their clothes. Um, and then the other family member we have is Gilgamesh, who is a mutant street cat. They are
Hell
marked as
yeah.
helpful and mischievous. Mutant street cats are pretty common in New Heaven, to the point where I wrote a whole other spin off game about them called Fearless Chimeras,
Mhm,
which
mhm.
is free over on my itch page. Yeah, mutant cat. These mutant cats are transgenic, just like yourselves. They're a mixture of all kinds of DNA. They're a bit more of a mishmash than yourselves because you're just a mixture of human and angel DNA. These things, all kinds of stuff. And Gilgamesh has a slight touch of angel DNA, and you have no idea how that got into the mix, but it certainly did. Um, so yeah, I think we're gonna jump straight in now. So I have rolled for a plot line. The players know something of it, but we're gonna see how that unfolds. So one of you's day job is events waiter, and the other one is medic, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm gonna say you're both coming off a night shift, and um, for whatever reason, you're both coming um, from you're both walking through Lotus, which is not the district that is our home district. It's sort of closer to the center of the space station. Lotus is known for being like permanently in darkness. It's very neon lights. It's also because the station is quite humid and warm. It sort of feels like Shanghai in monsoon season at night. Very humid. It always feels like it just stopped raining, and then it's immediately 30 degrees Celsius, which is high. That's halfway to your almost your body temperature. Because I can't do the Fahrenheit conversion in my head.
I yeah,
Um,
I'll guess. You know, it's
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, uh, for sort of a another sort of vibe check on Lotus, I often think of it as sort of like Brooklyn in New York, a little bit, or at least the kind of Brooklyn that I see on TV as a person not from the United
no
States.
one's gonna know.
Um, uh, yeah, so you're walking through Lotus on your way out of the center of the city to try and head back to the outer docks, which is right at the edge of the city. And I guess my question is, do y'all have rail passes, or are you?
Yeah. I, I I think B probably just she sits in like a ambulance for her whole shift most of the time. So like walking is, you know,
Okay, that's fair.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Cool. So yeah, you're all walking through Lotus. And as you, because the city's sort of like laid out like concentric rings around one another, as you get to um, the and the passage that leads to the next district, um, both start to hear, um, because it's like early in the morning because you're coming off a late shift. You both hear on the near empty street, over the din of the street sweeper robot at the end of the road, you hear what sounds kind of like a cappella humming music. It's like symphonic music, but voices. Um, it sounds really distant, but you can't pinpoint where it's coming from. It just sort of is.
I mean, is this like a like dance music, or is it kind of more soothing, like a ballad?
It kind of sounds almost like it almost sounds sort of like choral, like religious music, um, possibly like the kind of like meditation music. I'm not sure if any of you would have heard meditation music. Um, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, B does in fact have target surveillance.
Ayo.
okay. So um one of the components of target surveillance was teaching you how to use um various observation equipment and hardware. And they didn't necessarily know when they were training you what kind of missions they would end up seeing and stuff. And you realize that this sound, it reminds you of the biologic calls that they taught you to tune out if you
Mm,
were ever doing sonar
just in
on
case.
Earth. Just in case you were ever
Okay.
doing sonar on Earth, it's just part of the normal training. It's really obscure knowledge that you sort of filed away as like this is
Right,
really
Mm-hmm.
unlikely
Mm-hmm.
to
right,
come up,
right.
but I need to know it so that I can tune it out. Yeah, this sounds like whale song, but it's definitely not being made
Mhm.
by whales. It's like kind of sounds like a person's voice imitating whales. And again, it sort of comes from all around. It's very, but that's more a clarifier for like how it sounds more than anything else. It doesn't really
Okay.
reveal that much more information.
Um,
Okay.
are we walking together, Lore, or are we just kind of like
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
street
Yeah.
at the same
I
time?
think we're walking together. We're walking together. I think Laura stops after like they hear it and they're like, okay, this could be because I had to deal with the
Yeah, yeah, I
bridezilla all
can
evening. You hear that shit,
definitely
right?
hear something. I mean, wouldn't we need like a third point of data for that? I don't see. No, I mean, I think we're both hearing it. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um, I gotta tune out a lot of sounds when I'm on the ambulance. So, like, should we check it out?
Okay. Well, do you see? Anyone around.
No, I'm
That would be a
tired
third point of
too.
data.
I'm so tired, but this is
Uh-huh.
intriguing.
Okay.
It's a
Great.
mystery.
Oh, great! It's a mystery. Yeah. Lore begrudgingly follows B over to
You
wherever it's
could
coming
ignore
from.
it. Yeah, so it kind of sounds like it's coming from all around you. You can't really um pinpoint it, but as going to ignore this, it sort of draws into clarity. It's like it is responding um to your what is the word I'm looking for? God. It's like it's responding to your resolve. That's the word I'm looking for. And when you're like, yeah, all right, what is it? It then starts to sound like it's coming from one place. Like this is not a am paying more attention. It changed, and in fact, the type of sound changed. It's still like it feels like a different melody now. But it's the same sort of like weird choral voices in.
Okay, so question then for you.
All good. You have the other one, Skills of the Angelic Artisans. Yeah. Um, yeah, for sure. Generally, the way this game works mechanically is that we only need to roll or use our skills or our powers is a better way to be like, um, this allows me to do something impossible rather than to overcome an obstacle. And then similarly with our skills, we can use it kind of like I did before, where like a justification of I know a thing, and then maybe if it's an obscure bit of knowledge that would be hard to recall or not very direct, I might frame it as an obstacle. Um, so that was just worthy of a point of clarification. You're not normally doing like, oh, I'm gonna make a knowledge check to see if I know this. It's like there's not an obstacle to like if it's common knowledge, I'll just tell you it. If it's something you might know because of a specialty, I'll just say it. And then if it's something that you would all know because of your training as spies, like I'm never gonna be like, you didn't check for booby traps. Um, unless you're in a rush, then I might be like, you said you were rushing out of here, so you definitely do not check for booby traps. But when you're not under pressure, I'm not going to be like, aha, you didn't check for booby traps. I'm gonna be like, you're super spies. I'm not going to assume that the players know that procedure. I will just be like, oh, you would know to check.
Mhm.
I will stop you before you walk into a mistake.
Yeah. But yeah, I think after they lock into where like the sounds come from,
Yeah,
like
so
once
it
it like becomes clear, I
sounds
think
like it's
I was like, oh well,
coming
that I don't think that's
from
better. But again, just
this
follows B to wherever it's coming.
there's the 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 street you're on, or rather this little cutaway to the gateway between the districts. It's sort of like a big almost like the back door to like a car ferry is kind of what it feels like. Or like a terminal to a
Mm.
I have a question. So we possess.
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you have access to all the 15 skills that are listed. You're trained in all of them. You
Mhm.
practice them from uh, almost birth. And then the specialties you're extra good at. So normally the way I describe the specialties
Okay.
is If that's your specialty, you were the top. That means you got the highest marks of all the angels in the program for that. And for similarly, one of you has combat training, so that means that you are probably the best fighter of the group. But yeah, you have all of the skills. You're all trained in fighting. You're all trained in surveillance. You're all trained in pickpocketing. If those are your specialty, you are the best of the angels at that thing.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
I totally think that it is like disguising your voice as much as it is. I think impersonation is actually, for me, a lot more about um, knowing how to pretend you are a person, a specific person. So, like, I need to pretend to be this general. I need to pretend to be um, this. Copy these sounds. So, are you sort of going to try and like sing them back to it? Um, obs- mm. So, you're sort of probing for more data. Um, obstacle, these are noises that human vocal cords are not meant to make. Thankfully, you're not human, so it's not impossible for you to do. But I think it is very difficult. So we are going to do this as an obstacle because it's possible for you to not do it perfectly. So when we're doing an obstacle, the first thing that we do is we mark, if we're rolling and we're using one of our skills, which it sounds like we mark a skill point. So you have 13 skill points you can spend. When that pool hits 0, you will become exhausted, which we'll deal with when it comes up. It's unlikely to come up, but it might. So yeah, we always spend 1 because it represents the effort that we're spending to try and accomplish our goals, and then we'll build a dice pool. So you begin with 2d10, almost always, because you're an angel, you're superhumanly good. So a human would be rolling 1d10. You are an angel, so you're superhumanly good even at the things you don't know how to do. And the things that you don't know how to do are all the things that are not listed on the sheet, right? So you'll notice you don't have cooking as a skill, right? But you'd still be rolling 2d10. Then, if it's a skill that you have access to, so if it's one of those 15 skills, we add a dice, taking us to 3. And then if it's one of your specialties that is marked, you add another dice, taking you to 4. And then 5 is really unlikely, but it's like extra circumstances and stuff.
Okay.
So is that one of your specialties? I don't think it is. Yeah, because so you're rolling 3 dice then, and you're looking for 7s and above. And you're looking for pairs, matches really. So not even matches, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, and multiples of those. That's 2 successes, so that's an unqualified success. That means it goes perfectly to plan. There's no cost, there's no partial success, and there's definitely no failure. Unqualified success, you're trying to get more data. As you manage to mimic it, and as it comes out of your mouth, it sounds unnatural. And there's a guy jogging like at the far end of the street down towards that where that cleaning robot was. He's jogging past the intersection that intersects with this. As he jogs past, he like turns and looks because like, what the hell is that weird noise? But then keeps
Mind your
it's not
business.
enough. It's not enough. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna fucking. It's like or something. Old mate
Yeah, Laura's just like, yeah, that's a weird yawn. Go away.
But it is enough to like draw attention because and as that happens, you realize that this sound you're hearing is not audible to anyone else but you, because there were other people that briefly went by, and no one reacted. Like there was a guy that stepped out to walk of his apartment to walk his dog. A person that stepped out of their apartment to walk their dog. There was a guy, a delivery driver on a cycle that went past, and none of them turned, and the noises is playing from all around you. So you realize that you are making an audible version of an inaudible sound. Um, and as you do that, you hear sort of the tonal quality of this changes and shifts. It almost becomes brighter and excited. Um, I would describe it as um, when you speak someone's language back to them and they're not used to other people knowing their language. It's sort of that excitement of like, oh my god, you speak my language, that's so cool, and then they start talking to you in that language. So it's now coming with like, there's more depth and layer to this. It's like a bunch of other melodies have been overlaid into it, and it's now much more complex melody coming back as you, and as it pulls you towards this uh, crack in the wall between the bulkhead that leads into that divides these two sections of the space station, and the like row of apartments that's on this on this street. There's like this little crack barely wide enough for you to like slip your arm into, and as you get up to it, you see you can glance from afar as you draw to it, like there's pipes and conduits, and it's wet in there because it's humid as fuck in Lotus district. And you can see that there's like wall slime, and like sort of like pond scum, and mushrooms. And as you draw closer and start to look in, and B is still making this call, the mushrooms start to fluoresce in a rainbow, like a technicolor rainbow, very psychedelic acid trance rainbow of mushrooms. You've seen mushrooms growing in New Heaven before, very common in Lotus. You've never seen them start emitting phosphorescent beams of light and stuff. It's not enough to like make the street glow, but it's like, what the hell is going on as you're calling and making these sounds. Um, yeah, and you sort of step up to the crack and look in, and it feels like there's way more mushrooms in here than there should be. Um, and there's at least like four varieties of them, and they're all glowing, and they're sort of, and you realize that the pulses that they're giving off of light seem to have some kind of correspondence to the melody. It's not like to the beat, but it's almost like these flashes of light represents the notes that are being sung to you. Yeah.
Hey, hey, lore. What do you think would yeah, what would happen if I maybe, like, tou okay, okay. You didn't even let me say it.
I don't think that's a good thing. Do you think this seems like a good thing that no one else is like, ooh, let's listen to the fucking mushrooms, okay? No one else. And that's a point of concern, B. Okay. Yeah. So I think it's funny if it is like a fucking corkscrew or something. So it's a multi-tool. They have a multi-tool. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of these. We don't worry about it. I think they're gonna like stick it in the crack and like poke at a mushroom. Yeah. Well, I mean, like a tentative. No, I would say like a tentative poke. You know. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, enough that if it was like a dandelion, it would go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, 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 true, true. You do that, and it creates a ripple through all the light. And you see the like slime that's on the wall as well. Um, does anyone have? So, would this be an obstacle, or would this? No, I don't. I just don't think you would know anything. You're just like, that's weird as hell. I don't know what that means. The sound of the music it goes from that like excitement back to sort of what it was before. It feels like sort of cautious.
I mean, I wanna I wanna figure out what these mushrooms are, and, like, if humans can't hear this, then is that like some natural cloak that they have or drooms? But, also, I'm just really curious.
You want to know? Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could just
I
leave.
know. You know, of
I
course,
do
this kind of
kinda
thing would
wanna
happen
know,
to
but
us.
also I'm kinda,
You
like,
want to
really,
know?
really exhausted, and I'm not super sure that this isn't, like, a fever dream. Okay, okay, that was yeah, 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 yeah.
When you stab it, all of the lights on all of the coming off the mushrooms changes to like red. Um, and a little bit of some sort of pus comes off of it, and then take a face full of spores. And the minute you take a face full of spores, your pupils dilate, and you sort of feel like you are falling um, through. It feels like you are falling through a constantly folding in on itself version of your own psyche. It feels like your psyche is like curling in on itself and then folding back out the behind and then folding back in. It's some sort of weird hypercube of your own psyche being pulled through itself. Um, and then you can hear each other experiencing this. Like you can sort of feel each other falling through this strange space, and you both it starts to like even out and slow down, and you hear a chorus of voices speaking to you in a language you've only ever heard in your dreams, but that you do not understand or speak, and yet you can comprehend it in this moment. And you hear it say, you hear this chorus of voices say, "We do not have time." Word would they use? There is danger being done. And it's a weird sentence structure. It's a weird way to say that. Um what do you do when this thing says we don't have time to waste? There is danger being done.
I think as soon as they're back in their body, first of all, like not Lore, that's her character. Um, Lore like looks at their multi tool, which now has like mushroom gunk on.
It glows when you wipe it on B's shirt, and then it fades to like a deep orange, almost like spilt nail.
So, which wait, the mushroom that Lore stabbed was the one that exploded, or a different one? It was a different mushroom. Okay, okay.
Different one.
So,
Okay.
B is gonna go over to the mushroom that Lore stabbed and like whip out
Okay.
like second
So
skin and be like, "I can fix this. I can fix this." Okay. So that was a bit of a trip. That was definitely a fever dream, Lore, or we were like psychedelic something. Which has that even ever happened to you before? Okay, okay. Um, okay.
You you feel rather than hear, you feel sort of the this feeling of when someone is waiting for you to stop talking, someone with authority like a teacher is just not saying anything and is just pointedly waiting. You feel that sensation. And I suppose to sort of bring it back to your experiences earlier in life, it it feels it doesn't feel it feels similar to the way the instructors would wait for you to stop bickering, but there's a gentleness to it that reminds you more of Auntie Vashti and the way that she lets you finish your arguments, as opposed to the feeling that the instructors would have, which was like, the longer this goes on, the worse the punishment will be. The sensation is a lot more like, I will wait. I will just wait, and it will take how long it will take, and then we will move on. And that's not a go at you, the players. It's just how the mushroom would respond to this situation.
Oh, did they talk to you more? Like something about your yeah, 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 yeah. Maybe we should find out about that.
Okay. All right, but how much you want to bet I could kick this and then make the hole bigger?
I I mean, if you want to try,
Even though about
I'm gonna just hang out mushroom here. Yeah.
So it's sort of the gap between two walls. Imagine like when a building is backed onto one another, but they weren't built to be actually adjoined. So it's essentially this long, deep space between the wall of the station and the row of buildings, um, and apartments and stuff that are here. Oh, you're an angel. In any other game, I'd be like, you can't dare
so
eat
I
a foot
think the
thick of
goal here is
steel
maybe try
plate.
to dent
It's
the
like
metal so
you're
that
an
they can go
angel.
in slightly
You're an angel.
deeper. Um
Yeah. So obstacle. Can you get the uh bulkhead designed to seal one section of this space station city off from the other? I mean, maybe it's if it was impossible, I wouldn't let you roll. Yeah, you are an angel. Like you are a thing
Right.
built to assemble universes. It's not impossible.
Right, right.
So first we spend a skill point. Always spend a skill point first. Well, always spend a resource, and then you get 2 dice for being an angel. 1 dice if it's a skill. It's
it's
actually
not
not
it's,
even
it's not
fun.
out of the
Actually, this
realm. But
might be
yeah,
breaking
so
and
so
entering.
that's gonna mhm. And
Yeah,
then
you're doing karate
uh
at it. Yeah. Um. Uh. Yeah. Cool. So 4 dice then.
okay, but I'm
So
using
you're rolling four
fours.
four
Yeah.
dice, and you are
Full
looking
transparency.
for sevens and
Okay.
eights. That's an
I
unmitigated
got a
success.
Nice.
7 and
You
an 8.
kick the steel. It dents, and it doesn't make like a bang because it's not hollow. Instead, it makes a groaning and then a snap. Um, it kind of sounds like a huge like I beam being stretched like taffy, and then reaching its like fracture point and snapping. Which would sound sort of like the loudest glow stick you've ever
Yeah.
heard. And the it is so loud. You hear a car alarm start sounding in the distance.
Yeah.
It's loud and deep, very deep.
Yeah. How do the
Um,
mushrooms feel about what I've just done?
I
um,
I was just gonna
the
say, I think B is like over there, like next to one of the mushrooms, like the one maybe that Lore stabbed, like, the with the second skin and like saying, okay, friend. Um
Yeah, you're
It's gonna
spraying
be
this thing
okay.
with a spray on bandage, and then you see B like roll up their sleeves. You're like, oh god, and you
Gah!
quickly step back because there's not really enough room for you both to be right up in his
right,
Yeah.
face.
right.
And then B kicks the wall, and it's the strangest thing. You swear that wall was covered in like slime mold before, and now none of it is on the steel. Um,
Oh.
Almost like it dodged at the last minute, and the steel plate is busted inwards, um, and it looks like fatigued and strained and stressed. The metal, like it looks like it's been like super heated, and then cooled down wrong because you are an angel and you punch like a pistol shrimp, which if you don't know anything about pistol shrimps, that might sound like I am saying something like, oh, you don't hit very hard. Pistol shrimps punch water hard enough to turn it into plasma, which is what stars are made of. So yeah, very.
Listen, I've had a hard shift, you know.
Yeah,
Laura,
yeah.
Laura needed to let that out.
Yeah, you just Goku kicked this steel and almost turned it to butter. And uh your foot is sort of like still against the steel plate as you sort of realize what you've done, and you start to pull it back, and you see the slime mold slowly grow back over the steel. And then orange lightning bolts again race up it, conjoining and digging deep into the station somewhere. And at that point, you feel this like weird pull again, like you're being pulled deep into yourself, and you get like tunnel vision, and the edges of your vision start to black out, and you can just see the light in the. This is to both of you. You can just see the light inside this of the mushrooms. B, you can just make out your sibling Angel in front of you as well, and something happens that you can't remember, and you have the compulsion to go to uh to go to somewhere in Outer Docks. You can't quite work out where it is either. You just feel, you know where it is, and you know how to get from here to there roughly, sort of like you know, when you know that's where something is in the city, but you don't know the streets between there. And yeah, you feel like a like a time pressure. You have to get to this place now. You both sort of like snap and look at each other, and say in unison, "We need to go." And
Want to not be you want to be danger
adjacent.
Yeah, I do want to be danger adjacent. I want to follow through. Like these like mushrooms are asking for our help, Lord.
I don't know these fucking mushrooms. I don't owe these mushrooms anything.
We don't
That's
know
a reasonable
anybody anything.
response, to be honest.
You know,
We-
like
How about
Mhm.
how about this, Lord?
Mhm.
We owe ourselves to follow through on this.
Why? Riddle me that.
Because maybe we become like real heroes after this. Maybe
I want to be. I'm a caterer. Okay.
I'm gonna say,
Listen.
as you are having this conversation, you realize that you have already started walking out of Lotus, and you've crossed.
We're fully having this conversation while we're walking towards the docks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a walk and talk.
We're
Like
walking
Yeah.
and talking.
And it's you're unsure if you made that conscious decision to start walking or not. It's very
I think what it is
Yeah.
is B started walking, so Laura's like, well, fucking fine. Just started following Laura, started following B, being like, okay, well, fine.
Yeah, so I mean, like, we're already almost here, so,
fine.
yeah. Did you
Okay.
not notice us? Yeah.
Well, no, I was too busy telling you how bad of an idea this is.
Right, but now we're here, so let's
Every
check
time.
it out. Let's just check it
Okay,
out.
yeah, fine. We're here, yay.
As you are walking through, so you have to go through a few districts to get to Outer Dock. So you're in Lotus, so you bypass the plants, but you do have to, which is like the industrial area. That's where they recycle all the air and stuff. But you do have to go through Heidi, which is this. You go through one of the main walking tunnels of Heidi, because Heidi's this district that's technically on the outside of the space station. It's a whole bunch of shipping container apartments that are connected via like polyvinyl, like what you make a home greenhouse out of.
Okay.
Like these clear plastic sheets. That's what the walkways, but on the outside of the space station, are made of that connect this district. So, like, cops do not go to Heidi with guns, for example. Like blanket policy, we do not take guns to Heidi.
Do the
Heidi's like one
humans
of
need like special breathing devices, or is this like
no, because it's
oxygenated?
sealed in. But like, if you like, you couldn't stab through it because it's like this meta material. But you could, like, you couldn't accidentally stab through it. But you could on purpose stab through it. You'd probably have to like use an ice pick and two hands to shove through it.
Okay,
But you
Lord,
could
don't get
puncture
any
it.
ideas.
But yeah, you walk through Heidi, and as you're walking through Heidi, like, you see a lot of people coming out. You see some like bike messengers and stuff starting their shifts, and you see like some one cafe open, and you see this across from this cafe, you see like this woman who is like hand washing some laundry, and you glimpse in her apartment like a bunch of kids. She's got like 18, well, 18, yeah, 14 from memory, 14 kids
Yikes.
of various ages. They look like they're probably orphans that she's adopted. You pass by this person. You keep walking down the main street, and you eventually come to the gateway into Outer Docks. And when you step into Outer Docks, there's a lot of broader streets. By now, it's probably like 6 or 7 in the morning. So there's some like mini trucks and stuff, tuk-tuks and things driving around. And at one point, as you're walking through the streets of Outer Docks, you see Arnie Vashti's tuk-tuk pull around the corner, her mini truck, and starts coming towards you. And she's like, where are you two been? You were meant to be home an hour ago.
So some mushrooms started talking to us.
Have you seen any mushrooms?
And then the
around
mushrooms
here?
told us to come here. And I kicked a wall.
Right.
Okay. Well, I made you breakfast and I left it on the counter. It's covered, so don't worry about that. I won't be home until this evening. So if you could please do the laundry, that would mean the world to me.
Yeah. No,
And
be
I will
super good with
see you
laundry.
tonight. Don't stay up all day doing mushrooms. And then she drives off.
Okay, so the mushrooms didn't happen by choice.
It wasn't like that.
This time.
She just takes your weirdness in stride, because, you know, when you find two angel kids in medical gowns cowering behind a dumpster on your
Weird
shift,
stuff happens.
you just sort of got to take that in stride. You know, you take these kids into your life. I say kids, you're like 19. Yeah, especially to Auntie Vashti. Yeah. Eventually, you keep following this feeling for this location, and you get to a you are standing out the front of a police station, and next to it there is a service hatch that sort of goes into the bowels of the station. And growing around the electronic keypad for that service hatch is an orange slime mold.
Right.
And
So
as you look at this, you have this. You realize what you saw when you got the compulsion to come here. It had sort of like been locked off to you, but now that you're standing here, you get a flash of it again, and it stays with you and is clearer. You see quick flashes of like a seedling growing up out of the soil and then being having all of its leaves plucked off, and then them growing back and then them being plucked off again. And you see I won't describe this too viscerally because it would be a bit more confronting than a plant being harassed. You see images of a kid torturing ants, which is as far as I'm going to go with that illusion. And you see these other visions of you see kids bullying another kid. You see images of an adult screaming. You see like tiger cubs being taken from their mothers. You see all these visions of of young members of species being separated from their parents or being injured or hurt or bullied. And you realize that is that is how the mushrooms tried to show you what is happening deep down in the bowels of this station. There is something where kids are getting hurt, and that's sort of the clarity of it. You know that it is in some way a better way to do this. Obstacle. There is something graffitied on the door, and it looks like a weird symbol. It doesn't look like street graffiti. It looks like something else. So obstacle, can you work out what this text or symbol means?
So
Okay. Do you have cryptography
I don't.
lore?
It's a specialty, but you do technically all have access.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
but it would
Get the
be.
extra die. So
Yeah, true.
yeah.
Is there a help function in here? Like we're both
No,
trying to
normally.
no.
So you there's not a help as in this will give you a bonus die. Normally you can have tools that will give you help. Or you can call in friend aid if you think you know someone who would be able to help you. But in terms of like traditional RPG, I would like to give the help action. The way that the game handles that is that it allows you to do more complex maneuvers. So like if we were doing target surveillance as one person, I'm going to follow this guy. You can only follow someone for so long before it becomes suspicious. It's difficult to do that perfectly, and they might be able to lose you, especially if it's like a spy who's also trained. Whereas if you had multiple angels working together, you can have a more complete coverage. You can do trade-offs. You can track someone's movements for longer, further across the city. So it's not that it makes the role is the same. One angel's always leading the role, but when it's a group action, the what you can achieve is larger.
Okay. So yeah. This would, I think,
You
perhaps
wanna
be.
take the lead, Laura, and
I
try
mean,
to.
sure. Do you want me to try to do, because it's gonna be the same fucking dice, but do we think
What
cryptography
do
or
you have anything else that would be helpful?
um
Is
no.
the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it
All
would
right.
be the same
Cryptography
amount
then.
of dice.
Okay, yeah. So that's
Cool.
3
So
dice.
make sure you spend a skill point and
Yep.
then roll me 3d10.
Uh 1 9.
Skill 9.
Yeah.
So it's a partial success. You are looking at this symbol and you realize, because you've been trained in a bunch of like covert stuff, and because you were trained to be the elite like operative for the authority, you therefore know the structure and operational languages of their um of their other operative forces,
Mhm.
and you recognize that this is some sort of signaling glyph used by the top secret branches of health and safety. Health and safety is sort of like quarantine cops for New Heaven. Their main jobs are to manage public health, address biosecurity, the concerns of biosecurity companies, because biotech is the biggest industry in New Heaven, and to cover for the blunders of those corporations. There's this image that the public image of health and security is that they are a separate independent body, but in actuality they have all these backdoor relationships with the biotech companies, and it's like the biotech companies will come to them and be like, oh, we had one of our top secret test subjects escape. They're carrying a plague that could wipe out all human life in the solar system. You need to capture them for us. And the biotech company will be like, oh yeah,
Sure.
we'll make sure
Yeah,
to find them for you, and then we'll also erase all evidence that it happened. They also often are involved in like fire department stuff and things. So like it's like, what if the fire department was militarized? It's a nightmare. Yeah, you recognize that this is some sort of symbol related to Health and Security's top secret unit K, who are quarantine enforcers, but you can't really tell what the symbol's meant to indicate. Or what it does, because you got a partial success, but you have worked out who it is. And I will say that the thing that I was about to give you, and then I'm like, let's do this as an obstacle instead. You know that they're being medically experimented on. It's like, how do I tell the players that this isn't going to be like really weird and disgustingly triggering? And I'm like, these are medical experiments that are happening, which is, not pleasant either, but it's, yeah.
So B. It's the health and safety assholes.
Sure. Okay.
I think we need to break into here and bust things out.
Yeah. I'm totally with you.
Uh-huh.
And B is kind of like, the thing is, what happens after that? I know I'm not usually like the one that's cautious, but I'm just kind of.
Yeah, so
I think what we might do while we consider how we're going to break into here and how much prep we're going to do, we might take a 5-minute break for a second, just to stretch our legs, grab water and stuff. So yeah, we're just going to take a quick 5-minute break, I think, for that. So yeah. Hello, 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 hello. We're back from our break. We're back with Make Our Own Heaven. When we stopped a second ago, we were discussing our options for what we were going to do about probably breaking into this service corridor. We know that it is linked to health and security, potentially the quarantine enforcers. There's some sort of secret glyph on there, and we believe that there might be children in here being medically experimented on. The other thing we know is that it just looks like a service access hatch to, like, the utility tunnels of the space station. And it's right next to a police station, so you probably don't want to be standing out the front discussing how you're going to break in. You're pretty confident that that service tunnel doesn't go into the police station, because that would be a very big security issue. But yeah, this is probably not the best place to be discussing your plan. So if you're going to just wing it and break in, I would do it now. If you want to discuss some kind of plan and maybe be prepared, you maybe don't want to do that conversation right in front of
The
the
police station.
police
Yeah.
station.
Right.
So that's sort of where we're at.
Okay, BBB, walk with me. I think they just go to like a safe distance away from the police station. Okay.
Walk down the street to a breakfast cafe.
We're leaning
It's a
against the
lot.
wall, really casual, like.
Yeah, it's probably like a diner, because this is
mhm.
like more like an American style diner, because this is like an industrial,
Yeah.
not an industrial, but it's like the docks and stuff. It's a
Right.
real,
Yeah.
a real greasy spoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where like coffee is still $1
Coffee's still
and
$1. Yeah.
you can get like eggs and bacon and toast for like $3.
Yeah.
There's like 4 things on the menu.
Yeah. Okay, so B.
Okay. What's up?
So the mushrooms, I think, want us to.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like
That was concerning.
I'm not cool with experimentation on children. So I
don't love that,
No, it's not. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
weird. The people that grew up being experimented
I don't love
on
that.
don't like it.
For some reason, I don't love it either.
So like I do think we need to break in or break out people or
And
whatever is there.
is this still part of your whole like wanting to be a hero thing, outside of the fact that we probably do this anyways? Or
I mean, I just kind of want to be celebrated a tiny bit.
instead
Like
of feared, I know.
that yeah, that's it would feel good.
I have a whole page in the book on how the players are not heroes, but not in a like you're bad people, but in
we're not we're not like Captain America.
Yeah.
And you're not saviors, right? Like there's a thing in here called there's the page that I'm thinking of is page 11, resistance and community. There's a specific. I'll read the angels are not the only ones trying to resist the influence of the authority, or the first. Throughout New Heaven and Jupiter at large, there are people fighting for autonomy. Don't imagine yourselves as the start of some great revolution. You are joining a long tradition of resistance. There's more here, and then there's another line specifically that I want to read, which is, "You do not exist in a vacuum. Be a good accomplice and find ways to help the existing groups in your community rather than building whole new systems. The people of this city have been doing the work since before you were born, and they do it every day without superpowers." That's not like a dig at anyone. And I think it is actually kind of an interesting theme to have a character that wants to like be a hero, because if I can see if there was a campaign of this, we would definitely have an arc of like real the real heroics is the not seeking praise part.
Right.
Thing like that. I feel you setting up a cool arc in the campaign
Yeah,
of
yeah,
this
yeah.
that
Which
we
is
are
not
Yeah,
gonna
definitely
so
not doing.
so after
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
B says that,
I totally see that, like, this system being good for having that, but
mhm,
B is a medic for a reason. It's not necessarily like, oh, they want to be a hero, but like they want to help people. And this feels like a moment where they could really do some good.
so
Yeah,
like
you see your opportunity to like
mhm.
do good.
Yeah, after B says that, Laura's like, okay.
I mean, I'm kind of good at sneaking around. Um,
Okay,
so
so
you
okay.
know,
Here is a how I foresee this
okay.
going down. Okay, right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna need you to get real cool with maybe fighting people.
So this is how I see it happening,
Uh-huh.
Yes.
is that I get us in and you play defense.
Yes, but you may need to fight people as well. Like I assume this is going to be really fucking heavily guarded and the police station is nearby as well. Like this isn't, like I know we've broken out of a place that does experimentation.
Yeah.
But we knew that layout. Okay?
It took
Yes.
you 19 years to put together a
Yeah, like
viable plan to break out of where you were
yeah,
raised.
yeah.
And now
So
we're taking 19 seconds.
yeah,
Okay.
so
Although I will say, you wouldn't. Again, the game assumes that you guys are competent, and so I will not let you walk into um a trap unless you like actually rush things. So one thing that I will give you is that you don't actually have enough information at the moment to know whether this is a like really high security high resources operation, and the mushrooms have shown you the back door to it, or
Mhm.
if this is a low stakes, um, low security in terms of manpower,
Mhm.
kind of operation. If this is a you don't know what the budget is for this weird side project of
Mhm.
whichever weird organization is doing something here. You know that the
Right.
enforcers, the Unit K, the quarantine enforcers are in some way aware of it, whether they're guarding it. But yeah, you don't have any enough details to know um what to expect. But at the moment, it is equally possible that this could be the back entrance to a large facility with a lot of like guards, or it could be the front door to a very low key facility, with relatively few resources. But that's sort of the thing. If this was the main door to like a really big top secret lab, it would be in a more secure location because they would need to. If it was a big lab, they'd need to be bringing in like resources and stuff, or it would be need to be tied into the infrastructure like the lab that you escaped from is. Like you
Right.
can't remember where the lab you escaped from was because of the fact it was buried so deep in the space station. This space
mhm.
station was clearly built around the lab where you were created. That's how long they had been working on you for. They built the whole space station to support that lab. And that meant that it was very easy to get resources into it because all of the infrastructure of you just need a blind spot in a train tunnel and then a shipping container can be offloaded, right? You can tie all the power and water into it and then it doesn't look like anything weird. Whereas this kind of entrance is a very sort of, this looks looks like a server. This is in the service tunnels, right? So this is probably a space that was repurposed, which means it's not as tied in, which means that if this is the main gate, this is too exposed unless it's a really low stakes operation. But you don't have enough detail to rule out either of those things. You can just rule out that if it's a big lab, this is the back door, which is good if it's a big lab. Thank you, mushrooms.
Okay. So, but there is a police station nearby, which means that even if they don't have um, a lot of security or even just workers or whatever, like in a lab, there's going to be like doctors and like maintenance people and all that kind of stuff. Um, there is this police station that could respond quite rapidly. So I think maybe, Lore, maybe we should just do a little bit of recon before we try to go in.
Okay. I mean, I can do the shadowy shit and give us cover.
Right. Yes. I know.
This also
And
might be a really good opportunity to use your target surveillance to just watch the place for a while. Although the mushrooms did kind of imply that there was some sort of
there was
time
a
pressure.
bit of
Yeah.
So I think I want to use I think the stealth and evasion might be really good here. They can just kind of maybe circle around this lab and get some data points on what else is here, as well as this police station. Maybe, I just had a thought. Maybe, maybe B might even try to trigger some, like, low stakes, like security alarm at like there's some sort of shop around or whatever,
Try and measure the response
and see what the response is.
Yeah.
So like something that they would bother with. So maybe if there's like a pawn shop or like a jewelry shop or something like that.
Yeah, so next to the what is it called? Service hatch, there we go. For the utility tunnels, there is a electronic repair store called the Sherpa's Hut. And then underneath it says your go-to tech guru for all your electronic needs. So that would be a shop that they would probably have to care about.
I like that. So B's gonna skirt around if there's any like CCTV or something like that. Try to avoid that, and then maybe just like break a window. Or
Sure.
whatever
I
is
guess
here.
it is like 7 o'clock in the morning right now, so it would still probably be before they've opened. So that would just breaking a window would probably trigger an alarm. So this is going to be, if you're like trying to actually break in and steal something, we might do this as a multi-stage obstacle, but because you're just trying to avoid the cameras and then break the window, it's just a single stage obstacle. So obstacle, can you avoid being caught on the copious amounts of CCTV?
Right.
Thankfully, there is no like difficulty mechanic in this game. There's no, you can't ever take like a dice penalty or anything. That's part of the whole like hyper competence thing that the game is trying to model, because the idea is you don't make obstacles harder, you throw more obstacles at them. So you escalate by creating more obstacles rather than making them harder, because if there's more obstacles, the players will just run out of resource.
Right.
Eventually, and then they'll have to try and push for their refreshes, or they'll have to try and do something else, or they'll retreat or whatever. So so let's build us a dice pool, spend a skill point, and then is this a skill specialty?
Well, Well, I'm not trying to get inside, so I was thinking stealth and evasion because she's trying to avoid
Just
CC.
trying to avoid the cameras. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So
Yeah.
is that your specialty?
Yes, it
Brilliant.
is.
So you're rolling me 4d10 then.
Okay. So I only have 2d10s, so I have to do a second roll. I got, oh, this is terrible. A 1, a 4, a 6, and a 5.
Brilliant. So, generally in this game, we describe success as being factors beyond your control. As
Mhm.
you start walking up towards this electronics store, you realize that there are there is no CCTV blind spot on this street, which is weird. Like, not weird for they're not for out the front of a police station. The
Right.
weird part is that there's an entrance to a off the books laboratory here, and there's no CCTV blind spot.
Mhm.
Which
Mhm.
means that if they are using that door, they are being seen on camera.
Mm.
Which could potentially tell you some information. But as you try to work out how to break into this, how to break
Mhm.
the window on this, you're like, I can't do this without being on camera. So you
Right.
can still do it, but you will be caught on CCTV, or you can be like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I think lower.
Lore.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I think B is going to kind of just casually like look like she was maybe just like checking what time the place opens. They have like a little placard on the front end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. And then meander back to where Laura is and be like, so there's like no blind spot from the CCTV. Like,
Uh-huh.
however they have this, there's just like a camera for every angle. Every angle.
Okay.
So, you know, that means that, well, we're already at danger hurry.
Yeah.
But if we really did try to get in here right here, then we will definitely be seen on camera. So hurry becomes primary to danger, I think.
Okay. Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. So stealth is not going to be our goal.
I don't think it's gonna work
I
yet.
think our goal.
Once you're inside that, yeah. That was going to be my next suggestion was we've got to look like we should be going in the door.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right. This might be like right. I think if the mushrooms pointed us specifically to this spot, then this may be like the place where the children are.
Yeah.
Um, and also it would take some more time to kind of recon the whole rest of the area
Mm-hmm.
and find another way in. So I think we should just
I think,
see if we can get some uniforms and
and
look like
if
Miss
not,
Amy.
then you're gonna have to be cool with fighting because rather than stealth, we gotta.
Right. Okay, lore. I get it. I think that, but I feel like I just feel like you're really like emphasizing this. We gotta. Okay. All right. Okay. No, hey, realistic too. Honestly, if it comes down to hurting some people who are hurting children, I'm okay with that. Yes. Now, if they're just like regular workers, maybe they don't really know what's going on here. I don't know. We could just, kind of knock out, not like kill. Yeah. Okay. Great. So then the plan is just like let's just rush headlong in there, or try to find some uniforms. That's true. Yeah. Oh wait, does Vashti like do other people's laundry, like take in like laundry work? Yeah, let's do that. Are you on board, Laura?
Well, it just says that Vashti's a delivery driver, but it's not impossible that Vashti occasionally like delivers laundry or might know somebody that works in the council service, so might be able to ask them. Yeah. Did you want to try walk up to that door? You look at the keypad and you go, "Oh, how are we gonna get in here?" And I'm just sort of looking at it, trying to work out if it's one you know the I can't remember what they're called. There's a thing in lockpicking where the exploit is what I'm trying to think of. So an exploit is when you don't actually have to pick a lock. You can just like if you shake it a certain way, or if you press a button, it'll like just open. So yeah, you yeah. An exploit is like a built-in flaw in the system as opposed to like actually lockpicking, which is like when you're trying to defeat the defenses. This is like, oh, you can just ignore the defenses. Like one that comes up a lot on like electric padlocks, like fingerprint padlocks, is you can just break the case that the fingerprint is on, and then the entire mechanism will like fall apart. Anyway, so yeah, you're looking at that, trying to work it out, and before you can really like get too deep into it, the orange slime on the wall lights up, and the door like clicks like it's unlocked, and you just walk straight in. Yeah. So immediately there's a staircase. The door opens. There's like a very narrow landing, and then there's a staircase that goes down like maybe 5 steps. And then you're in a concrete tunnel with various pipes and conduits lining the walls and the ceiling. Up ahead, there's a like T intersection, and you can see some mushrooms growing on some of the water pipes. Yeah, you walk into this corridor. Uh, Obstacle. How are you going to find your way to where you need to be? There is more of the slide.
Okay, so
Is
I have
there
kind
any
of an
more of
idea.
this
See,
slime? I is okay. Okay. I mean, I definitely think B is I don't know if I really have to use it, but, like, the stealth and evasion, um, I think, yeah.
Mhm. Right, so lore
Wait. First wait, how many people first? B would just like to know. Wait, well, how about this? How many different